Welcome to another creative podcast, where creative outcasts come together to share their stories so we can all feel a little less lonely. I'm your host, Janelle Marquez. Hello. Welcome back to another episode. Today's style of episode is going to be a little bit different because I am giving you guys my version of a State of the Union address type of thing. If you're listening to today's episode on the day it's released, it just so happens to fall on the first day of the second quarter of the year. And I recently started looking at my years in quarters. I used to be the type of person who used to view my years in semesters, and I think that's something that just kind of happened once I got into college, and then I just kept viewing my years in halves. But because I work in social media marketing, I really do see the benefit of viewing my years in quarters. So as we're entering quarter two, I thought it would be great to just talk about things that I think are in and the things I think that are out for spring of 2025 for creatives. So I'm going to touch on all topics, such as like what's trending on social media, marketing, and a little bit of everything. And the way I'm going to be breaking this down is I'm going to say what I think is out, and then I'll let you know what's in. And if you disagree or agree with anything, let's have a conversation about it, because I think this is such a fun conversation to have, just because I love to see what people's perspectives are. The first thing I think is out this spring season, and I believe this is out for the entire 2025 year, is posting content daily and creating a day of content. I think the test of time always proves this, right? And I think quality content over quantity content is in. As someone who has done social media marketing for the last 3 years, I have found that if you can make good quality content, that could get you more results and better results than posting multiple times a day. But this also could depend on like what field you're in, what kind of business you're running. But for the most part, I think it does stand true. And I think the test of time has proven that quality content over the amount that you're posting is always going to be so much better. And if you're a business owner, this is great, because that means that you don't have to be spending a lot of time busting out like 3 videos a day. It's more about the quality of the content that you're putting out there, which does take a little bit more time. But that means if you're putting out a good quality video, you could have a video go viral that could hold you over a really busy week where you're like, dang, I only have time to post 2 videos this week. Well, guess what? That video is doing all the heavy lifting for you. Or that piece of content that's circulating still for you can do you such a big favor. But once again, I'm the type of person who always believes that putting in the time into creating quality content is always so much better than just putting stuff out there constantly. Now, if you have time to bust out really good quality content multiple times a day or just every single day, then do that. Like, I think content is king, but I think good quality content will always be everything else. Another thing I think is out this spring season, and this could be controversial, but I wholeheartedly believe that having a presence on every social media platform is out. And being on social media platforms that make sense for your brand or your business is in. So I don't believe you need to be on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. No. I think for a lot of businesses, sometimes TikTok and Instagram is enough. Sometimes being on TikTok and YouTube is enough. Sometimes being on X or being on Threads and Instagram could be enough. I just don't think it makes sense for a lot of businesses to put themselves everywhere. This is another one that I think is going to ruffle some feathers, but I wholeheartedly believe that high quality production for content is no longer in, and iPhone and more casually curated content is in this season. And as someone who does like to shoot with professional cameras, who does like to shoot high quality content, I really have noticed that a lot of the content, especially when it comes to reels, the reels I have filmed on my phone go more viral than any high quality piece of content. I have filmed or footage that we've hired someone to film. So if you're thinking about like, oh, I need to invest in a higher quality camera or this and that so that my content will do better, that's not always true at all, actually, because sometimes you can get a really great camera, you get really good equipment, but you may not know how to use it. So you could be like shooting with like really great stuff, but if you don't know how to use it, then it's just actually going to be worse than if you just used your phone. But this is also your reminder, if you're going to be using an iPhone, please clean your cameras, and also make sure that if you can film in the highest quality settings on your iPhone, do it. I recently changed my settings on my camera on my iPhone, and I have noticed such a big drastic difference, and it actually makes me want to film more on my phone than ever before. I also think having a quick little point and shoot camera to just capture content for your business is also in. So like if you have, what I'm currently filming on right now is the Sony ZV-1F, and I love this because it takes really good photos, but it also takes really great video quality. It's actually been one of my favorite pieces of gear to film content on lately, just because I love how easy it is to film. But on days if I'm just shooting quick content for something else, I love my G7X because it has flash on it, so I can keep that thing going all night. But at the end of the day, I think using whatever you have to film whatever you can and capture whatever you can, that's what's in this year. And it's also a little bit of a way to get a little bit more candid with your audience. And instead of showing like a really heavily produced piece of content, I think it adds a little bit more to the authenticity of your social media presence. This could also be controversial, and I think this is something that's actually been out for a while, but I still see it pop up from time to time, and especially for people who just don't know anything about content creation. So like, I don't blame anyone for doing this, but I think using trending templates on TikTok is out, and having like a simple or a unique editing style for your content is in. And I think templates are a great way to start if you're looking to figure out how to edit, because CapCut kind of teaches you in a way of how those edits are, because you just fill in the template with like your content. But when everyone's doing the same thing, you don't stand out. And if you keep doing a bunch of these trending templates and things like that, well, you're not going to really build a unique brand image. So I really think that if you want to like step up your game this spring, is to ditch the templates and just learn a very simple editing style and stay consistent with it so that people can recognize your content when it shows up on their feeds. However, I do have another point to make. This does not go for graphics. I think if you're going to go for graphics on that end, using Canva templates that everyone uses, that's out. But if you're going to make your own, I think doing a maximalist magazine style type of collage style type of template that feels unique and you can add personal touches like your own handwriting on things, adding little doodles, I think that's very in. I think people like to see something that not everyone else is doing, and it gets people to stare just a little bit longer, stay a little bit longer, share it with someone because it might inspire someone. So I say putting those little unique touches on your stuff, that's also in. Now, as somebody who started her own social media management agency last year and just a content agency for myself, this is going to sound a little hypocritical, but hear me out. I do work on both ends of this. So while I do freelance with social media marketing, I also work in-house for a company as their content creator, content strategist. And I think social media agencies and influencer partnerships for like marketing, I think all that is out this spring. And I'm going to tell you why. And that's mainly if you are a small business. What I think is having in-house creators or someone on your team who can really capture the true culture of your company, who is part of the company, who gives a unique look and a unique insight in your company. I think a lot of times social media agencies want to work with local businesses because, trust me, I've been there, I've done that, and I am doing it. But for someone who also works for a quite large local business as well, I find that having somebody who has boots on the ground is way more impactful than hiring someone out to capture your content and do all that stuff, because they don't know the company the way a in-house social media manager does. So I think agencies are great for people who have products. I think agencies are great for people who have larger brands that are mainly online and really focus on online sales. But there's just something different about having an in-house social media manager who really can tell the stories of the company, who can really give behind the scenes look at things, that who could really be present for a lot of the things that social media or marketing agencies can't really be in person for. I also think that by having an in-house content creator, social media manager, that also really adds a more personable, more casual, more authentic point of view to a company's story and their marketing than hiring an agency to do all those things. Because at the end of the day, when you are working with a local business, you get to build those relationships and really get to know who you're working for and the business. And by having that, you can really collaborate with the people who actually are owning this business, running this business. You get to really have a personal relationship, whereas like agencies are usually hired to, do the job and get it done, especially for business owners who just don't want to be hands-on. But in my case, I have found that when you have owners who really want to be involved with the social media marketing or just marketing in general, it really is important to just have an in-house creator than it is to have an agency. But anywho, if you didn't listen to that rant and you took nothing from it, and yes, I did go on a rant. So out social media agencies for small businesses, in is having an in-house content creator. To piggyback on that thought, I also think commercial, high quality content used to advertise your business is also out in 2025. I think people are craving authenticity, a real behind the scenes look at how a business runs, because in today's day and age, a lot of people are voting with their dollar. So if they know exactly what they're investing in, it's a lot easier for them to make their decision to spend their dime. So I think for 2025, what's going to be really big and it always has been, is behind the scenes content, day in the life content of an actual workplace, and just pulling back the curtain and letting people in on what it's like to run your business or operate your business, or how a product is made. That stuff is always going to do so much better to market your product than hiring someone to film a hype video for your business. This might be a hot take, but it's just something I always believe ends up doing so much better and performing better on content, because real people are buying your product. So therefore, you gotta find a way to connect with the person behind the screen. And if you're gonna show only the pretty sides of things or the most perfect version of something, a customer may not always find that to be so credible, or they might not feel that connected to it. So those are just my thoughts on that. Following the theme of perfection and perfected content, I also believe having this perfect script when it comes to creating content is also out. I don't think that having a script and writing a script, especially if you're doing a voiceover for a day in the life, scripts are awesome. Scripts are so perfect, and especially if you cut up the audio so that it just flows perfectly. There's no ands, no dead space in your audio. If you cut up the perfect voiceover, that's so perfect. But once again, writing the perfect script and having a very perfect voiceover, perfect tone, all that stuff, and just making it seem like an ad, I think that's out. And what's in is having a playful, not so serious tone in your scripts. So making a joke about pooping in public if you're a coffee shop, those little things that are going to throw someone off when they're hearing the audio or voiceover, that stuff that just makes you a little bit more real than just somebody who's reading a script for an ad, that is going to be key this spring in getting consumers to watch your content a little bit longer, engage with your content, relate to it, laugh, feel something. That's the goal when you're creating content, is that you want to evoke some sort of emotion. And I think by just being a little bit more human in your marketing and being a little bit more candid, you will succeed in doing just that. This next thing that I believe is out, I think has been out for a while, but I still see some people doing it. And I think some of you just need to be reminded that in 2025 specifically, especially this summer, we are not hopping on every single trend we see just to put ourselves out there and get our content in front of other people. No, what's in is only hopping on trends that make sense for your brand or your business. That is what we're going to do, because remember, quality content over quantity, right? Okay, so therefore, especially for memes, I think you have to know your audience really well to make sure that you can hop on a meme and it makes sense. Nothing hurts more than seeing somebody hop on a trend that doesn't make sense, if that makes sense. Now, my last very specific and precise out for the spring season is online experiences, giveaways, sales, and I'm going to throw in influencer marketing in here as well. I live in a big city where influencer marketing is very big and the scene is only growing. And I was going to touch on this topic when I was talking about social media agencies, but I think it makes more sense to talk about it here, that these online experiences, marketing tactics, all these things, I think that's out. I think we're done with that. I think if you have a strong community and a strong online presence, you should be able to have a strong enough brand and have a good enough trusting relationship with your consumers, audience, all that, to where if you could have it online, you could bring it in person. So I think all these online things, so like giveaways, partnerships, all that, I think that's out. And I think in-person experiences are in for 2025, especially as people are going to start, taking summer vacations, slowing down. And, it's going to be hot, especially in the city I live in. It's going to get so hot that most people are going to be indoors scrolling and all that stuff. I think if you can find a way to bring people out of their homes and interact with you in person, that's going to be more valuable to your brand and your business than doing something online. I have found that especially the brands who think they're consumers, instead of paying someone to advertise their stuff who probably isn't even that big of a loyal fan as much as your consumers, I think when you can give back to the people who have always supported you, that says a lot more about your brand and your business, and doing exclusive things for them. The city I live in currently, a lot of content creators are no longer giving brands a chance, or they're not willing to make a relationship with a brand prior to signing a contract unless they know that they're guaranteed money, which I understand. It's a business and content creators should get paid for advertising something. But if a brand invites you to a first look at something that they're looking to launch and have you review and pay you for your review, and they invite you to a first look just to get your honest feedback because they value your opinion as a creator, and you tell them, oh no, sorry, I'm not doing anything unless it's a paid collaboration right off the jump, a brand is not going to want to work with you if you're only in it for the money. Nowadays, a lot of businesses don't have money to blow on social media marketing. So I think a lot of creators get caught up in the business aspect of it because they do need to make a living. But at the same time, I think focusing on these partnerships with brands goes a long way. And because a lot of creators are like this, and I have seen it as someone who has been on the back end of this, I think it really is more important for brands to create intimate, in-person experiences for their community in real life. And I feel like this probably is an unpopular opinion, and because I'm going on this rant, if you're a creator, whether you have a podcast, whether you have a YouTube channel, whether you have an Instagram, whatever you are pursuing, and if you have a growing audience and you're consistent at your passion, I say you have a better chance at getting sponsorships or partnerships with local businesses in your community than you do trying to reach out to these big brands who they may pay you, but most of the times they won't. They're just going to give you a discount code, which honestly, I don't think is that much fair, because you're really just a salesperson for this company and they don't care really. Like, a company giving you a discount code and you making commission off of that only, you're just a salesperson for them. You're just like another rep. So I really highly recommend that if you live in a small town, network with your local businesses and your community, because you never know who would want to host something with you. Who wants, like, maybe an ice cream shop wants to do a collaboration with you on a special ice cream, or a bar wants to do a special cocktail with you, or maybe you'll do like a custom t-shirt with somebody, and like those are way more profitable for you. They also help you establish more roots and connections in your community, and it's better than people trying to use a discount code for something that is already very well known. But that is just about it for all my ins and outs for this spring season. A lot of the things I did mention, like for ins, are things I believe are just going to be in the whole year, if I'm being honest. Like, this is just stuff that I really think the test of time has proven to be true and works. But some of these are also trendy things right now. So I know that, like, for example, the style of like film photography has always been something that becomes very trendy and is always in and out of seasons. And the same way the camcorder vibe for filming content, that's been pretty trendy for a bit and it comes in and out. The same way high quality content and shooting on something that gives you that cinematic look. These are trends that are always going to be coming in and out from time to time. And I think it's cool to kind of just like take a second and look at like what's happening right now on the internet, because there usually are shifts with content especially, and social media changes so much, but there are very few things that really do change and shift. So I think it's kind of cool to take a step back and kind of evaluate what's doing well online. So I, in a way, almost feel like this conversation was like a bit of me giving my hot takes, but I actually have more hot takes that I will be sharing in another episode, because I have a lot of thoughts that I think might be unpopular with most people, and I think I talked a little bit about them today, but I really want to go into some because I just really love to see what other people's perspectives are, because I don't always think I'm in the majority when it comes to my opinions. And having this podcast has been one of the most fun things I've done, because I feel like I finally can show up authentically as a creator, which is wild because my YouTube is also how I felt like I could show up most authentically as a creator. But as I've gotten older, I have realized I do crave more privacy in my day-to-day life. I don't want people to always know what I'm doing every single week. And when you share a home with someone, especially someone you're married to, you start to realize privacy is the most precious thing. And I'm talking about privacy as I'm about to say the next thing that comes out of my mouth. But my husband and I, we are trying to live selfishly in our 20s. And as we get older, we start to realize how much we value the time we have as just the two of us, because it's not always going to be just the two of us and the dogs. So we really just want to bask in the time that we have while we have it. And part of that means documenting our lives, but not sharing it with everyone, because that's for us. But with all that being said, the spring season is just beginning. I want to know what things you think are in, what things you think are out. Let me know if you disagree with anything or you agree with what I said, because I think we all hold these unique perspectives, and especially as creators, we almost always see things so differently, or we have our unique twists on them. So I'd love to hear them. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's podcast episode. I'm having so much fun with this. It's really cool to be able to put myself out there in a way where I actually feel so much more connected with the people around me and the people I interact with. So thank you guys for listening to the pod and for all the love and support. Make sure you're following me wherever you can to support this podcast. And I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye!